Integrated bracelet, check. 100 meters of water resistance, check. In-house movement, check. Sub $1,000 price point, check. Meet the Yema Urban Traveler, a watch that is often overlooked but really deserves more attention. Now Yema is an independent French watch brand operational since 1948. They produce a number of interesting watches, most of which use their own in-house movements. The watch I'll be reviewing today is an integrated style offering from Yema, the Urban Traveler. Despite the name Urban Traveler, these are not GMT watches, but rather 70s inspired integrated style watches modified to suit the modern aesthetic. In Yema's own words, the Urban Traveler has been designed as a comfortable and elegant everyday sports watch. Coming in at $890, this watch is a great alternative to the Tissot PRX or Christopher Ward 12 as a good-looking integrated sports watch. Now the Urban Traveler line comes in 3 colors, a sort of salmon or peach dial, a blue dial, and a white dial. Here I have the blue and white variants, and I want to thank Yema for sending these over to me for review. Right off the bat, I like the colors on these watches. Unlike the more flashy releases from Tissot or Christopher Ward, the colors on these dials are more soft and muted. The blue especially comes off as a more toned down pastel blue, and it's nowhere close to being the dreaded T word. Psst, I mean Tiffany. Now the dial also has a rather unique honeycomb pattern and polished applied markers complementing the hour and minutes hands. These indices and hands are filled with BGW9 Superluminova. I would call the lume on this watch good but not great, which is how people describe me as well. This good but not great lume is applied on the dial measuring 39mm in diameter, 43.5mm from lug to lug, and 11.5mm thick. As you know, integrated watches were slightly larger than the reported size, but these somewhat restrained dimensions make this watch a decent fit on my 6-inch wrist. In fact, I would recommend this watch for wrists as small as 5.3 inches or 13.5 centimeters. Now, unless you've been hibernating for the last few years, you know that integrated watches are still the craze, and Yema is also trying to cash in here, and I can't fault them for doing so. The steel case is clearly inspired by Genta designs, but Yema just about manages to put its own twist on the case, which takes the form of a rounded octagon. The bezel on this watch is very distinctive with the curved recessed notches, which was inspired by Yema's Swiss Marine model from the 1980s. Really top notch. The watch is finished to a pretty high degree, combining substantial beveling along the edges of the case to go with the brushed and polished finish on the top and sides. Now this is the first Yema watch I'm reviewing, and I'm quite impressed with their finishing. So a question to Yema owners. Are all Yema watches finished this well? Let me know your experience with Yema down in the comments. By definition, an integrated watch is one that has no lugs but features a band directly connected to the watch case, creating a seamless and cohesive look. With this watch, the edges of the case slightly curve downwards to meet the bracelet, making the integrated look more integrated. This design makes the watch look more elegant and refined compared to generic sports watches. Overall, it's a subtle but thoughtful touch from Yema, and I'm all for it. Much like the PRX or 12, the bracelet on this watch is stunning to look at. Each individual link is finished to a very high degree, making the overall bracelet look really attractive. The bracelet follows the theme of the case with wide beveling along the sides of the links. This bracelet ends with the butterfly style clasp, very similar to the PRX or 12. I don't have any complaints with this clasp, and it functions as it should. The only gripe I have with this bracelet is that it doesn't taper much at all, making it look and feel chunky. Turning the watch around, we can find a closed case back featuring an embossed Yema logo. This solid case back houses the Yema 2000 in-house caliber. As the name suggests, this is a proprietary movement developed by Yema, which beats at 28,800 bph or 4 Hz. This movement has a power reserve of 42 hours and is regulated to run no worse than plus or minus 10 seconds per day. So this is clearly a very capable in-house movement with decent specs. I know that having an in-house movement is not the biggest factor for everyone, but it's really nice to see Yema equipping their watches with their own movements. It's a testament to the R&D and effort that Yema has put into their manufacture. Now this watch comes with a standard 2-year warranty that's on par with the likes of Tissot, but lags behind Ferrer or Christopher Ward's 5-year warranties. As for the robustness of this movement, I really don't know. As I said, this is the first Yema I'm reviewing and I don't have any prior experience with them. So this is another question for all of you who've owned Yema watches. How has your experience been with them? Do you know if the movements are reliable? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear real experiences. To wrap it up, let's talk about the pros and cons of this watch. Let's start off with the negatives, and I can think of a couple of shortcomings here. Firstly, these watches are heavy. There are no two ways about it. I don't know what it is, but the watch head as well as the bracelet have quite a bit of heft to them, and I would have preferred if Yema managed to trim down the weight of the watches a little. Now the weight might be a good thing for some because heavier watches sometimes feel more premium. But in my case, I found the watches slightly too heavy to wear comfortably for an entire day, especially if I was doing a lot of outdoor activity. On a similar note, the bracelets are chunky. Now that I'm used to the slimmer bracelets on the 12 and PRX, these bracelets feel a lot more substantial to me. Here compared to the 35mm PRX, you can see that this watch has wider links. Overall, on the Urban Traveler, the bracelet tapers only slightly, while the taper is more pronounced on the Tissot. Personally, I find tapering bracelets more attractive to look at and more comfortable to wear. My last complaint, and this one is only because I'm a watch nerd, is that the watch doesn't flaunt its movement. I know a sapphire crystal on the back might have increased the thickness a little, but it would have been really cool to be able to see Yema's proprietary movement adorning the watch. However, I think the pros significantly outweigh the cons in this watch. Firstly, this is a good looking sports watch from a brand that's been around for 75 years and not just some startup that was founded 5 years ago. It has a good looking dial with a very good looking bracelet. I'm a fan of the generous beveling throughout the watch, which makes it look very premium. This watch is also water resistant to 100 meters, so you can even go swimming with it. It features an in-house movement with decent specs and is priced well below $1,000. Most importantly, this isn't a generic watch like so many others at this price. It certainly is a unique watch that will make you stand out in a good way. So although this watch isn't perfect, it does check a lot of boxes. If you're in the market for an affordable integrated bracelet sports watch, you need to seriously consider the Yema Urban Traveler. I would especially recommend this watch for people wanting to try something different rather than going for the usual suspects. So what do you think of this watch and of Yema in general? Would you consider buying this watch? I would love to hear your thoughts. Finally, thanks a lot for watching this video. I hope you found it enjoyable and helpful in some way. If you did, please boop the like button. And if you really loved the video, please consider subscribing so I can continue making more of these in the future. Thanks again and see you in the next one very soon.